Israel continues its aggression for the 8th consecutive day, killing 4 citizens during the shelling of Gaza. Russia affirms Syria's sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity must be respected during the implementation of the UN Security Council's resolution on allowing humanitarian assistance into the country. The Iraqi army recovers Tikrit from ISIS. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. More than 194 Palestinians have been killed, 1,400 injured, and more than 13,100 houses destroyed since the Israeli aggression on Gaza began 8 days ago. The Palestinian resistance responded, shelling Israeli military forces in Zikim military base with 120 mortar shells.
The Zionist barbaric aggression on the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip continues for the 8th consecutive day amidst Arab and international silence vis-à-vis the Israeli atrocities. 4 Palestinians were killed in 2 Israeli airstrikes on Khan Yunis, south of the Strip, today, thus raising the death toll of the Palestinians killed to 194, including 36 children, and more than 1,400 Palestinians have been wounded. Israeli warplanes also shelled civilian houses in a Zaytun neighborhood, a Shati camp, Beit Lahia town, and the area east of Juhradik, setting the place ablaze and causing material damage. Israeli occupation artillery has moreover continued pounding the eastern part of Rafah, south of Gaza. The Palestinian resistance has meanwhile hit the Israeli military Zikim base with 3 mortar shells and the city of Eilat with 120, thus placing Israel from north to south under fire. Israeli security sources said 2 Israelis have been wounded when rockets fell on Eilat. The smoke of fire was seen rising from the stocks and securities buildings in Tel Aviv. Despite the Israeli threats to launch a land incursion into the Strip, Gaza is determined, as usual, to hold on to its steadfastness and perseverance.
The criminal acts perpetrated by the Zionist occupation entity against the steadfast Palestinian people in Gaza have triggered various reactions of condemnation. In Thailand and the Philippines, demonstrators burned the Zionist flag and shouted slogans denouncing the barbarism of the Israeli aggression and the state terrorism practiced by the Zionist entity against the Palestinian people. In Venezuela, protesters took the streets calling for the immediate halt of the Israeli aggression on Gaza and for the intervention of the world society in order to end the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian lands. Leader of the Islamic Revolution in Iran, Ali Khamenei, said the Zionist entity has committed the ugliest crimes against the unarmed Palestinian people. He called on Islamic governments and peoples to unite in the face of the massacres perpetrated against the Palestinians. On his part, the Chinese government's special envoy of Middle Eastern affairs, Wu CK, said, "The war on Gaza has caused many innocent Palestinians to be killed. We continue our efforts at the Security Council and the UN in this respect." The member states of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America Peoples Trade Treaty, ALBA, have denounced the aggression, stressing that the attack on Gaza breaches the international humanitarian law as it attacks civilians without distinction. The Visegrad group, comprising the Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia and Hungary, have urged for an immediate ceasefire and the end of all hostilities in the Gaza Strip, expressing concern over the growing number of victims. The Israeli enemy has renewed its violations of Lebanon's sovereignty as Israeli occupation forces launched shells overnight the towns in South Lebanon, especially the villages in the area of Tyre. The Israeli bombardment continued to reach the vicinity of the towns of Batulia and Ras Al Ain near the Palestinian refugee camp of Al-Rashidiyah, and it coincided with flights by Israeli helicopters in the nearby area. The Lebanese National News Agency said that the coastal area stretching from Ras Al Ain into Al-Qlaili was exposed to fierce artillery bombardment by the Israeli occupation forces, which also targeted the fields of the towns of Al-Hinyeh, Al-Aziyeh, Ismaiyeh, Al-Mansouri and Zibqin Valley. The Lebanese agency asserted that the Israeli occupation warplanes have carried out flights at low height in the sky of several villages and towns south of Tyre city. The warplanes of the Israeli enemy also carried out several flights in the western and central area and over the towns of Tyre and Bint Jbeil. Welcome back. Addressing the UN Security Council, Syria's permanent representative to the UN, Dr. Bashar al-Ja'fari, said the humanitarian side is one of the most important aspects of the Syrian crisis. It is clear, Dr. al-Ja'fari added, that creative terrorism has been diligently used and in an unprecedented way as a means to aggravate the humanitarian situation in Syria in order to be taken advantage of, in order to exercise political pressure on the Syrian government and implement agendas of interference. He pointed out that it was time for the UN and the Security Councils to stand boldly in the face of the practices of Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Turkey, as well as those of other pro-terrorist states. Russia has backed UN Security Council Resolution 2165, which was unanimously adopted yesterday on the humanitarian situation in Syria after the international organization took into consideration the points of concern and priorities expressed by Russia. In a statement, the Russian Foreign Ministry said it is important that Syria's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity be preserved during the implementation of the resolution. It pointed out that the transfer of the humanitarian assistance into Syria will be carried out according to UN basic principles connected with the delivery of emergency humanitarian material. The Russian Foreign Ministry said a UN observation mission will be deployed on the lands of the states neighboring Syria, namely Jordan, Iraq and Turkey. Its main task will be to guarantee effective supervision of the exclusively humanitarian nature of the shipments dispatched to Syria. The ministry said the resolution expressed deep concern of the growing terrorist activity of extremist groups in Syria, such as the so-called the State of Iraq and Levant, Jabhat al-Nusra and the Islamic Front, which commit ugly crimes against Syrian citizens. The Russian Foreign Ministry hailed the constructive stand of the Syrian Arab Republic's government in facilitating the access of the humanitarian assistance into the country, adding that such stand actually contributed to the adoption of the resolution. The ministry hoped UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the chairman of the UN Security Council would present objective, unbiased reports on the performance of all Syrian sides, including the opposition, regarding the implementation of the resolution. In Damascus countryside, a Syrian Arab Army unit has found a 5-meter deep tunnel linking Jobar neighborhood with Damascus. Syrian Arab Army units have thwarted attempts by a terrorist group to loosen the siege imposed by the Syrian Arab Army on Al-Mleha town, killing and wounding several members of the group. In Al-Hasaka countryside, the Syrian Arab Army and the National Defense Forces have stormed into a terrorist hideout in a Siha village, eliminating all the armed men there. In Hom's eastern countryside, Syrian Arab Army units continue to foil the infiltration attempts by terrorists from the villages of As-Sultaniya, Arshuna, Salam Gherbi and Salam Sharqi into nearby secure areas. A military source said that Syrian Arab Army monitored yesterday a gathering of leaders of terrorist groups in the area of Salam Sharqi and so targeted them, inflicting heavy casualties on them and foiling their infiltration attempt. Finally, in Iraq, the Iraqi army has regained full control over the city of Tikrit, taking it over from Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist organization of Daesh. The Iraqi anti-terrorism apparatus announced that the elite forces, backed by their armored vehicles, started today a wide-ranged security operation in the city of Tikrit to purge it from the elements of the terrorist organization Daesh, pointing out that the military jets also participated in the operation. The anti-terrorism apparatus asserted large numbers of terrorists have fled the area. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Nariman Qassam, but after a short break.